Nigerian creative mind. This intricately woven narrative masterfully interrogates social anomalies and thought-provoking cultural practices, prompting readers to question the validity of certain traditions. The story evolves around a young female protagonist who, after an ancestral initiation at just 4 years old, inadvertently sets her village goddess and shrine ablaze. This pivotal event sets off a chain reaction, gifting her with extraordinary beauty and leaving readers pondering the consequences of such an act. Sam Omatseye skillfully weaves together historical and cultural threads, creating a rich and immersive reading experience beyond its engaging plot. Juju Eyes also offers a nuanced explanation of Nigerians' complex history and lesser-known events. Mr. Omatseye's extensive experience shines through this literary masterpiece, which not only entertains but also educates readers about intricacies of Nigerian culture and history. Joining us in the studio today is the author himself, Super Sam, Uncle Sam, and everything. First of all, let us look.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, joining us in the studio today, please, wherever you are, put your hands together for the author of Juju Eyes. Super Sam is right here. That's how we welcome you. That's how we welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Her energy is boundless. That's right. When I saw this book, I said this cover page was designed to catch the eye.
Yes.
And the title is Juju Eyes. First of all, let's talk about the title. Why such a title?
Well, the title is actually based on a scene in the novel where the lover, a white guy, British citizen, who is really immersed in the Nigerian culture, you know, is visiting his friend in the Niger Delta in Port Harcourt, and he sees the chef of his friend. You know, he hears him calling his lover Juju Eyes, and he was wondering, why do you want to demean your lover by calling her Juju Eyes? Then he says, no, I'm not demeaning her. I'm actually worshiping her. That's why I call her Juju Eyes. So he now borrows that and goes to Shay, which is the protagonist in this novel, and he calls her Juju Eyes. And she, knowing the background she's coming from with all the interaction at 4-year-old with the goddess, whose life she destroys in a blaze of fire. Now reacts and say, no, that is racist. No, say, no, this is not racist. I'm calling you that because I feel that you are my goddess, or something like that. Something like that. So that was how the story comes, and it's also emblematic of the story about how we have made different things have power over us: money, sex, love, lies, deceit,
crime,
political things. There's also worship of money in a very extraordinary way, with a politician who burns up millions and millions of naira from somebody who is supposed to want to become a politician, and tells him, okay, you want to be a politician? Okay, come, bring back. Let me see whether you can live with losing money.
Yes.
Yeah, you know. So this guy comes in with bills and bills of his own money, empties his account, and thinks that the woman won't do it, but the man burns all of the money. It's a kind of ritual. I mean, I think it's an evocation of the ritual, but I didn't bring the ritual here. In fact, for somebody already that thought that analyzed it that way, I didn't think about it. Saying, no, politicians usually use rituals. The rituals of killing human beings and so on. But this is money, which is a sort of ritual.
But
based on real events. That story is based on a politician in Ibadan who a politician in Ibadan who told somebody that, oh, you want to join politics, okay, go and bring this also amount of money. And the guy ran away. They said, oh, this guy is not ready for politics.
He's not ready.
There's a scene in it in which somebody who is in a party and stays away and he just lost an election and spent huge sum of money and just sits down. And this is based on true event too. And then he says, 150 million naira.
Just like that.
Just like that. Then he just lights up his cigarette to smoke.
But you know, the beautiful thing about you is that you have written quite a number of books. And not trying to blow your trumpet, but blowing your trumpet also, you know, putting the two together. There's something about your storytelling. There's something about your writing. Some will argue that because of your background in journalism, that's why you can write exceptionally well. And I know that this book means a whole lot to you. I did my findings, and I know that it means quite a lot to you. I want you to take me through the process of writing this book. How was it like for you compared to your other books?
Well, this one happened through COVID and a little after. I was writing it in sports. I'll come to it, I'll come to it. So, and it started during one morning when I was surfing the news and I heard this story, came upon this story of this young lady in the UK, I think Ireland, I'm not too sure what part of the United Kingdom, but she was caught by the husband, who's white, and discovered that the young lady lied about everything she knew. Lied about her mother, her background, her certificate, her training, everything. And it was really stunned because if she didn't tell him all of this, he could still have
true.
Loved her. But I think that was I used that one to tell the story of how we live through these guises in Nigeria, how things are not what they should be. And this girl, in spite of all of that, I see a lot of innocence from her. She's somebody who wants to get by and thinks that beauty is actually something that is a great asset. And she didn't see that until she was abused. So she had to be abused, and she didn't want to go that path, but society forced her. We would say society forced her through that path, or she didn't have the strength to go that route. It's something I can't answer.
That's right. So in this book, it's a blend of different things. In fact, you were able to blend fiction and non-fiction, you know, all together, especially the characters that you also put, you know, into this book. So talk about politics, but one thing at the core of it is also that, you know, strong romance, you know, in it. So I'm wondering, was that intentional, or did you, you know, did the characters themselves even surprise even you?
Yes, that's one of the things about writing. You're in a new world, and the reader who is caught into the plot as it moves from time to time, is only watching the movie that the writer had himself watched before. So I'm just the first person to see the story. Because some of it surprises you. Sometimes you know how it will end, and when you start, then after a while, you don't even know until you know. And you don't even write until you write.
But you know, for people back at home that are looking at Juju Eyes, they're thinking, should I read it or not? You know, what would you say is one word to describe this book just put together? I know I want to put you on the spot. It can be one word, but I'm trying to put you on the spot. What would you say is one word that you will learn from this book if you eventually get it to read it?
Lies.
Lies. Okay.
Yes.
Are you going to learn how to lie?
Are you? Yes, please break it down.
You ask for one word, I'm giving you one word.
You may have to break it down.
Living a lie.
Now I want 2 words.
Yes, living a lie.
Right.
And the consequences, you know, of living a lie. Now this girl lives a lie, you know, for most part of the books, she wants to come to terms with her lies, she has to get into another lie. And it is also the story about our politicians, also a story about our parents. I mean, for me, the most powerful character is actually the mother of Shay. Yes.
Well, we've...
It kind of emblematizes leadership, and either is lack of engagement or engagement.
It is said that if you want to hide information from a black man, put it in a book. And you are writing, you've written several books.
Yeah.
This is your latest effort. Why would a black man pick it up and read?
Because it's a black man's story.
That's a witty question with a witty answer.
you know, I love the way you answered it. It's as if you didn't even think.
It's like,
were you expecting that question?
No.
Okay.
Did you give me expo?
Now, let us look at another part of the book. You talked about the political implications in the book. You know, could you expatiate on that for us?
Well, there's a young man called Osa who is in love with Shay, and he loves Shay to death, but Shay doesn't really love him, but Shay likes him because he's such a teddy bear, as it were, you know. Yeah. But Shay eventually dumps him. But this Osa is a guy who wants to come into politics. He loves to get into politics, and he sees the consequences of going into politics. And ideally, he used to be a student union activist and all of that. And eventually, he gets caught up in the fact that politics is not just about the idealist. It's about a man who is ready to lie, a man who is ready to cover murder, who is ready to sacrifice money, and then you sacrifice it, and then you don't get what you want and live with it. So it's also a story of political corruption, because Shay really lives by some of these politicians.
Lovely.
Yeah, but you know, let's talk about the current state of Nigerian literature right now. As a veteran, how would you describe it?
It's good. It's interesting. It's vibrant, and I think that there's so much that we can do with the Nigerian literature if we focus on Nigerian story, Nigerian related stories, and I think we are doing it.
So going through this book, there's a whole lot that I got to realize that so many things that it's more like a parody of the nation, what we see in Nigeria versus what we see, just as you said, a black man's story, and the book is actually for black men, black man. Would you say that Juju I is a love letter to Nigeria or a warning?
It's both. It's both. It's a love letter because it tells the story of the vibrancy of Nigerian romance. It's really vibrant, and I try my best to tell some stories about Nigerian, the problem of in-laws, the problem of the role of money in Nigerian love story, and the ambiguity of love. What is love? What is not love? The abuse of love by people who have power, who have authority, and the vulnerability of those who want power and who want the benefits of power in order to survive in this life. And this story tends to engage all of that. Yes.
All right, sir. I read the author's note of the book. That's how far I've gone so far, unfortunately. I can assure you that this weekend I'm going to devour it, And I think about our young ones that are interested in writing but do not know how to go about it. Could you talk to them?
There's this author, the man who wrote Babbitt. I'm trying to remember his name. This C.S. Lewis or something. No, I remember his name. He was very drunk, and they took him to He was on the podium, and they asked him this same question. Then he stood up, staggering on the podium. He said, "You want to write? You want to write? Write!"
Let's do it.
As this man said, Aristotle, you learn to do by doing. Yes, you don't tell anybody what to write, because when you tell a person what to write and how to write it, you have taken away the integrity of the writing.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you must, one, have an attitude towards the world. For you to write, you must have an attitude. I mean, all good writers, whether it is journalism, whether it is it's fiction, whether it's poetry, whether it's plays, whether it's biography, whatever you write, you must have an attitude toward. Unless you have nothing, you can have the best of expressions, you can have the best of attitudes and so on, the best of phrasing. But if you don't have an attitude towards life, you don't have a certain belief system or demand from existence, you are likely not to succeed as a writer. So that's the difference between a Shakespeare, for instance, and Hadley Chase.
James Hadley Chase.
Yes, you must have an attitude towards life. When you have it, then you can now try to hone your craft. Some people hone it very early. They have the skills and they have the sensibility, what we call sensibility. Well, want of a better word, use the word sensibility. Which is it encompasses so many things: your fears, your love, your courage, your weaknesses. You have to bring all of that into it, and don't be afraid of your weaknesses. In this novel by Solzhenitsyn, Cancer Ward, it describes somebody, said, you have all the strengths of a great writer, but none of his weaknesses.
Wow.
Well, if you have all the strengths of a great writer and none of the weaknesses, you won't end up a great writer.
True. But you know, Super Sam, you have a super fan, because someone is watching and just sent me a message of how they adore you and love your writing. But I want to speak on this. We've said oftentimes a lot of young people, and I'm Gen Z actually, we don't like to read. We just want to pick up our phone. But then we need to understand that the more we read, the more it broadens our mind. So your super fan is asking me to ask you, how can we encourage, more people to get the habit, especially the young ones, to get the habit of picking a book and reading, as opposed to just on Instagram, TikTok, and just whiling away, while when you read, you're able to broaden your mind and get more knowledge? Yeah,
the best thing to do is to pick a book like Juju. Just hold a book. Give yourself a target that I'm going to read a book a month. That's the best way to do it. It's discipline. And the best way to learn is to learn from others. Like as I'm talking to you, I'm reading 3 books, and you always try to keep your mind alive.
I'd like to know the books. I'm very inquisitive. Which books are you reading, so that
I want to read them too?
And interestingly, 3 books are all non-fiction, and they are all biography. I'm reading one book by my uncle Jim Nessin. Omatseye just wrote what they call it, his own biography, autobiography, I would say. I'm reading a book by J.J. Akpeyi, who was head of, he just finished his own, what they call it, book on his life. The man is about 90. He was a great player in the years of the formation of NNPC, the growth of Nigerian oil. So he was telling his story about how the NNPC was built and how it grew, and how the refineries were built, and so on, and his own role, the politics and the intrigues and so on. In terms of my uncle was telling the story, some of which I'm familiar with, and some of which I don't know. So it's also kind of going to my roots and so on. The 3rd book is called Reagan by Max Boot, which is a biography of Ronald Reagan. And in which he has dug up a lot of interesting material. It's a massive book, but so interesting. You learn a lot about the how America was when when Reagan was growing up. Those were very interesting. How he got into Hollywood, and how he grew through, how he became a politician, and how he became governor, and how he became president.
Interesting.
I'm looking at all
Super
of that.
Sam, I have two quick questions to ask you, because I'm wondering. I've read most of your books. The very last one that we reviewed together on the show was The Last Man Standing, the one you wrote, for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and also as a rejoinder to the hula baloo that ran through the electioneering in 2023. The book was very, very timely. But I'm wondering what keeps you up at night. Is it because you write a lot of columns too? Is it unfinished column or unfinished chapters?
Very good question. There's always something unfinished, and that's what the idea of being unfinished is what keeps me at. Well, without finishing it, I'm finished.
That's the beautiful one. So the very last one is, if you look at this book, it's quite an exciting read. I'm reading, bits and pieces, but I just want to get to the end. Talk about the denouement of the book itself. Charcoal or caramel? How did it end? What should we look for? That quest.
I can read it. And
we cannot give them the spice.
Right.
No, he doesn't want to take away that thing that keeps you turning the pages.
Yeah. There's humor in it. I'm happy that you're saying there's humor in it. And somebody told me just a few days ago that saw a lot of humor in it. I didn't know I was that funny. I said I didn't know I was funny too.
Well, quick one. After Juju Eyes, what next? When should we expect something again?
Very soon.
Very soon?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm actually working on 2 other novels.
Wow. So you write them simultaneously?
I'm writing 2 novels together. I'm writing. I do a lot. I mean.
And you don't mix up the characters?
No, they're different characters. There are brave new worlds everywhere. So you try your best. You do your essays. I do my essays. I do that every week. I do other things too. I do, as I'm working on fiction, I'm working on non-fiction.
Yeah, amazing.
You have painted a picture of a very busy man, and apart from being physically busy, you keep the brain thinking.
That's right.
When you're writing 2 books. And let's say you want to dedicate the first 2 hours on this book. You get into the character of that book and you remember everything about it and you put it together. Yeah. And for one reason or the other, you remember something about the other book. Is that how it works?
Yes. In fact,
juggle the 2.
In fact, I was reading a story yesterday based on something that happened in Nigeria. And I was doing an editorial actually for the newspaper. And last night, there was a story that I read in the newspaper, and I said, there's a component of this story that, really fits into one of the novels. And so when I leave here, I'm going to try to write a note and put it on the side and try to know how well I can integrate it. Because it just fits into one component.
Yeah. That's right. I want to find out a day in his life.
With all these things you're saying, exactly.
A day in your life.
Do you have a social life? Do you relax? Because it's as if the brain is working at 300 kilometers per hour.
Yes, I have a lot of social life. I'm a social butterfly.
Are you serious? When do you have the time for that?
When is the time for that?
So there's always time.
Your muse, do you get visited by the spirit? Because someone told me when I tried to do some sort of promo on my social handles for this, someone said, Juju Eyes. Are you not sure that is Eyes of the Monster? I don't want to be visited
and the foreigners said Juju Eyes.
Juju Eyes.
So are people going to be possessed when they read this?
I hope so.
You'll find out.
Okay, he has been writing for decades and decades and decades, and I make it sound as if you are 150 years old. I have seen the author's note, and that alone is enough to make me want to go to the next page and the next page and the next page. It is very easy for you to find Juju Eyes. You want to grab a copy.
Okay, so wait, let me market it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Juju Eyes. Now, trust me, if you want to be enchanted, this is the book you have to read. You can find it in any bookstore. And guess what? It is not expensive. We have told you the importance of reading. We have told you that the more you read, the more you broaden your mind. So you have the book here. I'm Ria Abdul. I am marketing this book. When you buy this book, I promise you, you will definitely be enchanted. Oh, Super Sam, how did I do? Did I sell it well?
Wonderful.
Go get your copy.
and don't be surprised when you receive an invoice for that.
Yes, no problem.
No, this is my, no.
Okay, just before we let you go, let us look at journalism in Nigeria, especially newspaper and magazine. Is it where it should be? And if it is not, what is holding it back?
Well, the magazine as a genre of journalism is actually the more troubled one. The newspapers are okay. I've always said that the problem with newspapers in Nigeria is not newspaper in itself. It's the fact that people have come to steal the patent of journalism. Like so many people creating their own websites and waiting for you to go and get the exclusive in Taraba. You put it in, for instance, in The Nation, and somebody who's somewhere in the basement in Mushin will just sit down and say, oh, this is their story, and put it in his own website and take the traffic away from you, who did the story, take your sweat. And I've always said that the problem, you don't blame those people, you blame the Newspaper Association of Nigeria, you blame the Guild of Editors for not coming together and saying, let us create a legal framework to deal with all those who steal our sweats. But we have not done it, and we are complaining that these people are killing us and we have the power to stop them.
That's right.
But we don't do that, and we keep complaining, oh, online people are stealing our
patrimony.
It's even happening to even TV as well. You know? So it's happening. So I think that is the state of journalism. The writers are doing a lot of work, but because of what is going on with the online theft, a lot of resources that should go to the newspapers. So people are not legitimately doing it. So we are seeing a flowering of impunity, even in this profession.
Exactly, but Super Sam, we must thank you. We must thank you for reviewing this with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, that was Sam Omatseye, TV host and columnist, and for today he is part of the table. The book we have talked about all this while is Juju Eyes. You want to go grab your copy.